Alright, so this video is going to be about me heading to the ER about 2 weeks ago. It was in May. And what happened when I had an infection and I was on mycophenolate. So let me start with the first thing. So in late May, I had an issue where I had an infection in my toe. So I went to my doctor. She prescribed me some antibiotics, and that was that. And I was supposed to come back in 3 days. They found out I may have had another infection as well. So I came back in 3 days. Actually, before that appointment, I was feeling tired for the last 2 days. And on that morning of the appointment, I was very tired. I had just taken a nice warm shower. Sat down, was watching YouTube, getting ready, basically waiting to see when I had to go to my appointment. My appointment, I believe, was at 2 or 3 p.m. And I decided, you know what, I'm getting so tired that if I stay in the house, I'll fall asleep. So I decided to get ready and go in early, probably about an hour or so early prior to my appointment, and just sit at the doctor's office. Because I was so tired, like really tired, I decided to check my blood pressure and it was fine. I ended up checking my temperature, no temperature, and I ended up checking my oximeter, and the oximeter was a little low. So I decided to go over to my doctor's office. And I let them know what had happened. They let me in a little early. And because of my breathing, which was labored, and because I think my pulse was a little high, we weren't focusing on the toe at this point. We were now focusing on a trip to the ER. And so that's what happened. I went to the ER. I went in. I guess they triaged me and they took me to the back. My oximeter reading was normal. It was like 98 compared to what I had originally. So they went and they gave me a COVID test and I was negative, fortunately. And I ended up getting a bed in the ER. They decided to check for quite a few things. One of them was a heart attack. My troponin levels were elevated. They did 2, I believe, EKGs, and they didn't show it was a heart attack. They ended up doing a test for a lung clot because I think I had a D dimer that was positive. I'm sure they took the labor breathing and they thought, okay, she has all these issues when we look for the clot. It wasn't there. They end up looking for a infection in the heart because I had prior dental work where I didn't get antibiotics even though I had asked for it. So they did that. They ended up doing another test of the chest to see what was going on, see if they could see anything. I think it's an ultrasound of the chest. And when I was waiting in the bed, it was a Friday because I originally came in on Thursday afternoon, evening. On Friday, I was supposed to have a test that was for the heart because they wanted to check one more thing. Unfortunate error was made, and I was made ineligible for that test. So because it was Memorial Day weekend, guess what happened? I had to stay in the ER and later on eventually in the hospital in observation from Thursday to I believe it was Tuesday. So I believe it was a total of about 6 days in the hospital because of an error, a very simple error. I won't go into it. And all that time they ended up drawing my blood. Things were coming back fairly normal, and except for a few things here and there. but they eventually did the test at the end, and I ended up leaving the hospital to follow up with my primary care physician and another doctor within 2 weeks. They already had an appointment scheduled. They assumed it was a scleroderma instead of the heart. Because I have a few issues, they wanted to make sure checking all their bases on this, and they presumed it was scleroderma. Now, let me tell you what happened about my infection. I had an issue where I was on mycophenolate, and once I got the infection, when I saw it on my toe, I ended up calling my doctor and calling my rheumatologist's office. Called my doctor to schedule an appointment, and I called a rheumatologist to determine what I should do if I had an infection. And what happened is they told me at that point their directions, and I took care of that. I ended up receiving antibiotics, took care of those, and it looks like the toe infection went away. So that looks like it's pretty good now. I had another infection. I believe they thought that because I was having issues with my urine, where I had a hard time holding it. It was a lot of frequency. And I had a mistake earlier. Let's just call it that. They thought they may have had maybe a UTI. So that could have been the second infection. Fortunately, everything worked out fairly well, even with everything that happened with the mistake and the longer stay that I had. And I ended up leaving. That's the longest day I've actually ever been in the ER. I'd rather not revisit that again. That was tough. I've seen security get called into the ER and go from 2 to 4 or 6 people. I've seen someone have an accident and fall out of their bed, and then have a swarm of people come through right next to my area where I was sitting. I saw everything. It was not good. It was not a place to be over the Memorial Day weekend. I did not expect that to happen. That was not a good thing. And then I had to look forward to the bill, and that's finally been starting to shake out. Originally, I thought I was going to owe quite a bit, but it's been processing, and it looks like I'll be in a better position than I assumed. As for the mycophenolate, they ended up telling me what I needed to do with that. With my infection, I had actually been worried that if I ever did get an infection, what would happen, but it went pretty smoothly. No issues. So I'm back on the mycophenolate and currently taking it. Now I have another video where I talk about my visit with a pulmonologist, and I won't go into it too much here, but at that visit, the doctor that was assisting the main doctor told me that I needed to contact my rheumatologist about how the mycophenolate was working for me. The reason about that was because I had told her that originally in my original visit, my rheumatologist, which would have been in March, I think I had the tightness and the texture changes and such. It was the discoloration and such is in different places in my body, but I remember specifically that it had been in the wrists, and it also been in the ankles. I've been on the drug, the mycophenolate, for about 2 months now at full dosage, and I have noticed texture changes and discoloration going from the wrist to the lower arm right below the elbow, and from the legs going from the ankles to, I'd say, the calf or just below the knee. I didn't know if I should maybe wait a little longer because I'd been doing a little bit of research. I thought, maybe it takes more time for it to work, and maybe this is just normal. But the suggestion from the doctor on this visit, this pulmonology visit, kind of kicked me into gear and had me send a little message to my doctor about what had been going on, that had been recommended by the pulmonologist visit for me to contact him about what was going on. I did have some concerns about it. I didn't want to be bothersome. I'm sure he takes care of a lot of patients, but I thought, well, you know what, just give it a little more time. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe you shouldn't expect to see any of the texture changes or the benefits of mycophenolate in the arms until you're like 4 months in. And I'm glad I've wrote him now. I'm going to be waiting for a response. I'm hoping that the drug's working and this is just, hey, you know what, you got to give it more time. But I don't know. This was, like I said, this was something in the back of my head for a while, and I'm hoping that it's not something where he's going to say, you know what, well, why don't we consider that this drug is not working very well, or something along those lines. I really don't want to hear that, because I don't know what else can be used, because I think mycophenolate is supposed to be, I want to say, the standard for someone that has an autoimmune disease like this. That's what they use. So if they don't see good progress with it, what can happen?